We told you we're gonna have you on yearly. So I mean, technically,
this is twice in a year.
No, twice. Okay,
yeah,
in podcast land, twice in a year.
Yes,
but you're gonna be the first official guest of 2025.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So starting off with a bang, right?
Yeah.
Right out of the gate, you had a killer season in Maryland. Like it was like the first week down in Maryland.
Yeah, first day I was there for about an hour and a half. I was, my season, man. We'll get into it. It was just a roller coaster. I mean, I think I killed that buck September 7th. That was already my 4th deer already. You know, because I killed 3 in crop damage, 3 doe, killed that buck, and I mean, it was full throttle heading into October, and even the start of October was good. My son killed his first buck with a bow. My buddy killed one on the farm we were hunting, and then it just went woo. The run came in, it's like I got my balls kicked, you know, because I'm known for a run hunter. It didn't play out good. Then I grabbed a rifle, and it was just a shit show for the week. For gun, I just slaughtered them.
So let's start with that. Well, I don't feel like we have to introduce you because I feel like everyone knows who you are, right? You've been on the podcast for I think at least 5 times now.
Yeah.
So if anyone doesn't know who you are, just go back to a previous episode, listen to it, and find out who he is, and then also go check him out on Instagram. It's Moose _what?
Moose 1720.
Moose 1720. So go check that out. Go check him out. But we want to hear about the Maryland because, like you said, you were in there 1 hour on was it the opening week you said? Too?
Yeah, I came in. I think they started on the Friday, and I was there Saturday. The second day, basically, seasons when I started hunting.
Okay, so let's break that down because that, you know, everyone kind of wants that. Everyone wants that quick and easy, but then also you kind of want it to. You don't want it to go away that fast. But this is a different state, so let's talk about that. How many times you go down there and scout to find this spot?
Yeah, this spot I was actually in Maryland twice. Summer scouting. This particular area, the weekend before, I hit another section of Maryland. Real steep, rugged terrain. Not a lot of diversity in habitat. It was kind of boring, other than the real steep stuff, which of course would hold some deer. Then the following weekend, I was like, I just need to try somewhere different. You know, I was like, I can hunt here, but just was, you know, the spidey senses weren't going, you know what I mean, what I typically like to look for. So that second trip down, actually, before we jumped on here, I jumped them on next, and it was July 27th when I went down there in this area here where I killed at. As soon as I got there, as soon as I jumped out of the truck and went over the ridge, I was in Mountain Laurel. It was just different. There was some diversity there. Started working up on the ridge line, and I just saw this, there's a leeward side of this ridge system. And if you look on your mapping, you can usually see the different colors, you know, and a lot of times I can kind of figure that might be Mountain Laurel or Greenbrier or something. In this particular area, east facing slope, it was dumping down to a creek system. So I kind of figured it was Mountain Laurel. That's kind of what I was thinking it was. So I headed there. While I was getting there, I started getting a lot of oaks, a lot of mature oaks, but there was a lot of brush, a lot of high stem count, a lot of Mountain Laurel, and I was starting to like it. I mean, there was a lot of sign too, a lot of historical sign. As I worked my way on top of that ridge, what it ended up being wasn't so much Mountain Laurel, it was just brushy area. Just ended up being, but what I keyed in on is before I dumped over on the leeward side, there was a lot of blowdowns on the top of that ridge system, okay, and a lot of structure. And what I noticed in the summertime when I was there that trip, man, there was beds everywhere, fresh droppings everywhere. And then right before I got to that bedding area, there was a lot of mature oaks and a ton of historical sign. So, you know, spidey sensors are going off right now. And then when I dumped over that leeward side, like I said, it was all high stem count, brushy, thick, nasty shit.
Yeah.
I mean, right, it was like, now this is what I'm looking for. You know what I mean? So in my head, I pinned that bedding area. What it is, I jumped the pin, ended up scouting the rest of the day. Actually found some pretty solid stuff the rest of the day. Like this spot, I can come back either early September and hunt this, or even a rut. Say I was tagged out early in Pennsylvania. It really lined up pretty good. But there was a ton of oaks, just a ton. And like I said, great diversity. So basically, once September started rolling in, got my Maryland license, I was like, I knew the area I wanted to go. But like I said, no cameras, no nothing. So basically what I was going to do is get there early on Saturday and scout my way in. That's basically what I did. I got there. You know, I had that point of interest marked in that bedding area. And what was nice, like I said, I believe it was September 7th, was that Saturday I killed. We had like a small cold front come in. So I think it was in the 50s or something like that, if I recall that day. High winds too. So I used that to my advantage because we remember how dry the fall was this year.
Yeah.
Good Lord. And what was nice about that was I could really push tight to that bedding area because as I started working with my ridge, man, there was oaks just raining everywhere. That told me I had to be super tight. I had to be on the edge of that bedding area or in that bedding area to get a shot opportunity because of the mass crop.
Okay.
They weren't going to move very far, in my opinion. So what was nice was with that wind, I utilized that wind to cover my noise and everything to get into that spot. And be honest with you, once I got to that bedding area, I started getting within range. I really started slowing down. I didn't really find a lot of hot sign, a lot of feed sign, but there was still a lot of historical sign in that area. So basically what I did was, well, I know from the summer they were in their bed, bucks, does, whatever. There's a ton of mass crop just outside that bedding area. There's a historical sign there, so I know those bucks prefer to come in and out of that bedding area there. That's kind of how I played it. I basically pushed to where I could see into that bedding area, maybe 75 yards or so off of the prime part of it. And, and to be honest, I just picked the right damn tree that day.
Yep.
And the high winds, and I was just cutting an off wind on that bedding area. And I think it was, I got set up and situated. I think it was around 3:30 or something, like give or take a little bit. And I killed him. I think it was 4:40. He come out of that bedding area. I mean, it was so windy. I turned around. I was like, shit. I mean, like I said, I filmed for Whitetail Dixon. There was no filming. Like he was already there in the wheelhouse. I mean, I shot him. It wasn't even probably 12 yards, 15 yards. I killed him. It's literally, I thought about putting the phone on on there. Nope, grabbed the bow, pulled back. I'm telling you, it all happened in 5 seconds. That's just where the experience comes in, hunting and doing this long enough, because it was just one fluid motion. The bow was off full draw. And it happened so quick. The shot looked awesome. I pinwheeled him in the pocket, but it happened so fast. You start to doubt yourself, So I was like, I mean, I did a video, I posted my stories. I was in disbelief. I was like, I've only been here like an hour,
Yeah.
But anyway, I got down, saw the arrow, and the arrow actually didn't have a ton of blood on it. At first, I was like, it's hard to hit a whitetail too low, in my opinion. It is, and I was like, man, I know I hit that pocket. There's no way I went too low. There just wasn't a lot of blood on that arrow. And I was like, man, I know General Ware, he ran through his mount a little. And I just kind of made a loop. I'd seen a couple drops of blood, followed a little ways, and boom, there he was laying, man. And that, like I said, like I'm sitting there, I'm like, I've been in Maryland literally for like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
I'm tagged out already,
I think that was the first time. Like, I remember watching your stories and everything the day that happened, and I think that was the first time I've ever seen you like almost flabbergasted.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah,
what the hell just happened? Like, I was confused for a second. I was like, oh my god, like excited for you, but it's like, holy shit.
I posted up, we all do. We posted the bloody arrow. You kind of play that story out. But hey, guys, like, dude, what happened? They're like, all my buddies were in shock. They're texting me and stuff like that. I'm telling you what, man. Once I got him, and in Maryland, you got to call it in, stuff like that. And there's like no service down there, so I'm trying to do that middle of the mountains, and then drag him out of there because my kill kit's in my truck. But I'm like, and it's kind of like downhill, so I just grabbed the horn and went.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, time I got him, I used a local butcher down there because of the CWD stuff and stuff. So I did that, and I literally was driving home. The sun was still up. It's like I got home, it was dark, but I'm literally leaving. The sun's going down. It's like I was just. I told my wife, I said, I couldn't ask for a better way to start the season this year because it takes the pressure off. Let's not lie.
Oh,
We want to kill a buck, And to start out that way, and I told my wife, this is never ever going to happen again. I mean, I'm telling you what, man, I was putting on music. It was like, I don't want to give it too much away, but it's a couple hour drive. Let's say that.
Yep.
Man, I jammed all kind of shit home and home, singing along with it. But I was in such a high at night because I knew it wasn't going to happen again. Buddies are calling me and shit. It doesn't happen like that,
Yeah. Yeah. We have one buddy who I think he's done it a few times opening day, like when it comes in early in 5C, Ryan, he's gotten down a few times, like opening day. It's like, man, like it's in your mind. It's nice. Now, luckily this was out of state for you. So you had all PA to go yet.
Yeah.
But like in your mind, it's like, you would love to have it happen, but then you're like, well, then my season's over. Like we waited all season for this and it's over like that. So like to have it happen out of state is pretty it, like you said, takes pressure off your shoulders.
Yeah, and like I said, I wasn't really going down there to be really picky. You know, I just want to get down there and shoot a buck, to be honest with you. I mean, probably, to be honest with you, I won't lie. A little 6-point would have come by, I probably killed him.
Yeah.
You know, and then I ended up shooting a nice buck. I was like, so I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't down there like, you know, looking for a mature buck. I was just going there having some fun. Just happened to work out that way.
So the betting, because I want to go back to that, because that to me, I have a lot of, well, I have historical data now with this area that I just pulled cameras at. I let cameras sit there for 9 months, but you didn't run any cameras here. But like, trying to find the betting area, I think I have an idea of betting. Like, there's betting pretty much all around this area. But like, how do you know? How did you know that that was like? Was it doe betting that you think you found, or was it just all around betting?
Just primary betting in general. I'm a kind of a big believer of that. You get in some of these areas where your diversity, the thickness, the cover, stuff like that. You know, yes, there's buck beds and doe bedding areas, but a lot of times in general, deer bedding and bedding cover. That's kind of how I played it. When I seen the amount of sign down there, I would find a group of beds, which probably a group of does. You'd find some single beds, which possibly a buck. With all the amount of droppings, the brow sign, like you could just tell that was the. And as I scouted throughout that day, I forget how many miles I put in or how many hours, or whatever, but by the end of the day, I could tell what I initially found there was the primary bedding area in general of that area. It was a fairly sized bedding area. Like I said, I could have hunted that multiple ways, that bedding area. This, with just the wind, as noisy as it was, and utilizing the wind to get close, everything just lined up for me to hunt this particular area that day at this spot.
Okay. Now, is there,
and like I said, that historical sign, we always talk about that.
Yeah.
There wasn't much fresh sign there, but what I did see was a lot of rubs, a lot of scrapes there in this one general location, which told me this is where a lot of them were entering and exiting in general. So I kind of played that a little bit, the story. Like I said, there wasn't a lot of fresh sign. There was some feed sign there, but basically what I did was like, the historical data in here, there was a lot of different age structure of the sign in there, which told me the bucks preferred that general location, that bedding area. That's kind of what that's how I played into that game.
Okay. And then when you set up in that tree, I imagine you found that tree on the way in, probably, right? Or did you find that tree beforehand?
That going in scouting. Once I got within, what I did was I looked on it. If like, I don't care what mapping app. Basically, what I did was, your little blue dot of yourself is there.
Yep.
Well, there's that line of distance. You can like drop a pin where you're at, and then what I did was I dropped the pin where I was out in that blue dot. I dropped the next one at that bedding area. So what that told me, says I was 150 yards from that bedding area. Okay. I said, okay, I need to slow down now. So the next 75 yards, I went really slow. Like I said, I utilized the wind to cover my noise. But what I did is I really slowed it down. But using that points there of distance, I can kind of know I could push a little faster, or I needed to slow down. Once I get about 150 yards, I knew I needed to start slowing down pretty good, so I didn't blow the whole area out.
Okay. And then with that wind, because what you said, it was a crosswind that it was?
Yeah, let me try to think in my head here real quick. Say the ridge. I think that day that ridge was running north to south.
Okay.
Like I said, the eastern side of it was the leeward side. We had a south. I think I was getting it was a west wind, but I had a little bit of southwest in it, where I just catching that bedding. Okay. Like I said, the east of it was the bedding, and it was coming out of the southwest, where I was just catching the extra upper corner of that bedding, and where they were coming out. So I was flirting with the devil there a little bit, say about 80% okay, but about 20% of it I was cutting off, maybe. Just the edge of that bedding I was cutting off. But I kind of gambled that way. I think most times you need to be aggressive in situations.
That's one thing that I've been hearing a lot, and it makes sense. Is like you want to give a mature buck the win. You don't want to have the win completely in your favor, because then it's kind of like not.
It depends on the situation. I think when you get in around certain, like in a rut situation in general, I think you can get away with a lot more in general travel patterns. When you get around the bedding areas or a primary food source, I think that's where you really got to pay attention to trying to give him the wind or the thermals, where he's slowing it down. He's more cautious, probably coming in and out of his bedding area, possibly J-hooking into his bedding, or he's going to come on that downwind side or where the thermals are dumping on a primary food source. Like that's where I think you really got to pay attention to where and how a mature buck's going to enter, exit an area. Like a general rut situation where they're traveling hard, I don't see that so much. I see the wind up their ass a lot of times, because they're just trying to get point A, point B to look for a doe.
Yep. Or like when there's a lot of pressure, like during rifle season, I feel like if there's a lot of pressure, they're just going to go where they feel the safest consistently. Like,
well, that's how I killed we'll get into it. That's how I killed my rifle buck.
Yeah,
I got in the bedding area and killed him.
That's how I feel like I killed mine too this year. Is like I figured out where they were putting on drives and where they weren't putting on drives, and I went there and boom, there he was. Also, it was a shitty day, but
yeah, that was cool.
But yeah, I mean, it's just like you gotta play that into your cards.
Yeah,
you want to say that, like, yeah, I mean, it's just fun. I think talk about, learn about it. But you said about the scrapes outside the bedding and the historical sign, because we found one recently, and it's literally right outside thick cover. Yeah. So is that's something like that was the only sign there? There's no rubs. There's nothing else. Just that big historical scrape down to the roots, high licking branches, right out thick cover. I mean, it to me, it's the textbook spot. Yeah, I'm not going to set up right on it, but I'm going to set up near it when the wind's right. So, I mean, did you see that kind of stuff down there too?
Yeah, that's basically what I saw. Was there was actually one particular scrape I could probably shoot to when I set up that night. That wasn't really my, focus. Like I said, in general, there was historical sign in that area. I just kind of got myself in a tree to where I would have a shot opportunity because we can't trim, of course, on public land. So sometimes you got to play that a tree that's going to give me adequate cover, plus still give me some shot opportunities coming in and out of that bedding area. It's basically how I played it.
Okay. And since you don't, I know a lot of people in general, when they run the mobile stands, they put like sticks in there, like twigs and stuff in their stand. Do you do that too?
No, I be honestly, I don't believe in you. There's situations you're going to hunt 20 feet high. There's situations where you could be one stick and hunt 4 feet off the ground. You just got to read, what you have to play with. You know what I mean? And I don't typically, do I get busted? Absolutely. But typically I just climb a tree. I don't move. At the end of the day, I just don't move. And as you come, a lot of guys may struggle with getting busted and stuff. And it's probably just experience learning when to either draw your bow or pick your gun up. There's situations where you got to know when to grab the bow. You got to know when to pull back the bow. And that comes with experience. I think a lot of times if you just don't move, you're probably not going to get busted, Yeah.
I mean, that's why when I see a deer at like 200 yards away, I'm picking up my weapon right away. That way I don't even chance it. Nothing. I mean, safety's off. I'm ready. I don't even have a shot, and I'm just ready to go.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, that's this early mid-October. Like I had a doe literally come within 8 yards of me in the saddle. I was in a pretty much a telephone pole. There was no cover around me. I found the tree in the dark because I didn't do what you always said and make sure you find a tree when you're in there. Did not do that. I didn't listen to you.
I went
in the dark. In my head, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna be able to find a tree. Like there's,
in the dark's a little different.
Yeah, no, because I'm like looking up with my headlamp, and I'm like, does it look good? And I picked the worst tree possible. Yeah, and, I mean, she comes 8 yards. She's looking right at me. I'm in my saddle. I'm just there.
Yeah,
out like a sore thumb. Sun is directly on my back, and she doesn't blow. But that I had the wind in my favor. I had the thermals in my favor. I had everything else in my favor except for that. And it was like, it was probably like the luckiest moment, I would say, with that one. But so Maryland, you got him down. You didn't go back. You didn't go back for a doe at all.
No. I already had, like I said, I crop damage hunt here in Pennsylvania. It comes in August, so I had 3 doe down already here in August. Killed that buck September, so I was pretty good till the opening of our season here in October.
So now let's get to our season, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
The rough one, right?
So, well, it started out great. I mean, like I told you, I was on this high. My son is 15. He's killed a couple of doe. He's not killed his first buck yet. Well, he picked up the bow for the first time this year. And man, I was like, man, you've killed your first buck with a bow. That's gonna be a highlight of my season, let alone his. Yeah. And ended up, I think it was the second time I had him out. First time we come close on a doe, didn't get the opportunity. Second time I had out, I'm shooting a little 4-point, and I'm telling you what, man, that was once he killed that buck. Like I got on the video and everything. Like I didn't really care what happened the rest of the season. I killed that buck in Maryland, had a couple doe down. He kills this buck. I was like, man, we're high right now. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I was pretty content, to be honest with you, once that happened, because that made my season. And then it was a couple days later, my best friend, the farm we hunt, because I do hunt a little bit of private early. This is where actually we'll get in the rifle season where I hunted and killed my buck. But lady at work with gives permission to hunt his farm. And like I said, a couple days later, or whatever, my buddy kills a nice buck out there. So it was just, man, and I wasn't even on vacation yet. It's not even, not even the third week of October. And like, man, this year is smoking, but I've been doing this long enough. If that's Northeast guys, the Southeast guys, like not to be an asshole here, but the Midwest guys, you have no clue. Not to be an asshole, but the white-tail roller coaster with the eastern part of the country, let me tell you, you're going to be up here and you're going to be rock bottom. Just how it is, the stuff we deal with, because we just don't have we do have a lot of hunting pressure. And the mature bucks, and numbers wise, it can be tough sometimes. It can be done, absolutely. It's not an excuse, but it's reality of whitetail hunting for us guys. Throwing the public land game, stuff like that. But I was pretty damn confident. I had a month off for the rut. Got some deer down, and let me tell you what, warm, dry fall with a heavy mass crop. It makes from tough hunting in the big woods mountains. And let me tell you, those 4 weeks I was off, I got my nuts kicked in, and I'm not ashamed to say it, man. I get on these freaking podcasts. People think I know my shit, man. I'm gonna tell you what, I know shit. I chasing my tail, and I only saw 4 mature bucks. That's all I ended up seeing. I passed up, I think, 7 or 8 bucks. But I only saw 4 mature bucks, and nothing even, take my bow off there. Nothing was close enough, but. Seasons or times like that, or seasons like that, or whatever, your rutcation, that's when you learn the most, in my opinion, when you spend that much time in the woods. Mother Nature, my end of the day, the weather is king, and a lot, probably 3/4 of weather kind of sucked this year in the rut. When we did have his prime days, they did move, but outside of that, man, I just didn't see the cruising this year. Saw some young bucks. It was like all year and a half or nothing. I just didn't see like an age structure, even the 2 and 3-year-olds moving. Like I said, I saw those couple mature bucks, but it was just a strange year. I like to hunt dark to dark and really grind it out. Basically, what I started doing this year was I would hunt in the morning, tear it down. I'd scout to a new area. I'd hunt that afternoon. I'd hunt it all day the next day, maybe the next day, depending on what I seen. I did a little bit this year just to try to get into stuff. But, I think this year, what taught me was how important that in-season scouting is. Don't get married. Like, I'm a rut hunt, like I said, I'm a rut guy. I want to grind it out days on end. I usually pretty successful like that. Well, a season like this, when they weren't really moving, man, you had to get aggressive and get in them bedding areas and kill them. You had to, instead of me trying to cover 4 or 5 things during the rut, I maybe need to cover one thing, get in that bedding area and kill one. That's kind of what, after the season, after everything cooled off, where I would have changed things was really got aggressive and really pushed into that thick cover.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's what we did this year. Ohio, we scouted the whole morning before we found a spot. And then that's when I was able to get my Ohio buck in the afternoon. But then to the PA buck, I got lucky. I drove up when it was light up and I saw the doe. Yeah. So I was like, find the doe, go there. And I don't know if you listened to it or not, but I gave you credit.
Yeah. I listened. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
He listens.
I listen.
But because like you just said, you like the in-season scout, I was hunting, obviously, but Monday and Tuesday of that week, I was doing a lot of walking.
Yeah.
Looking for sign, trying to find spots, doing a lot of stuff that I really have never done in the past. It's usually like, I'm just going to go to a spot and sit all day. Right. And not really, I just think, there might be deer here. Right.
Yeah.
But this year was a lot different. I found sign and I set up on it later. Yeah. And then, even to yours, like with your Maryland, you said there wasn't a lot of fresh sign in that general area. When I set up on that Wednesday for where I shot my buck, there really wasn't any sign. There was 1 or 2 rubs that might have been done in like October.
Yeah.
And then that's really it. Like some trails that, doe used, but that's it.
Yeah.
And then I knew I was close to betting because of how thick.
Yeah, that's probably what the biggest takeaway of the season, how important that betting game is. Because that's what a lot of my setups, like this postseason, I'm a big postseason scouter. I love that. To me, I kill my bucks now in the postseason. You got to incorporate your trail cam intel and that in-season scouting with that. But pretty much my postseason scouting, I kind of know where I'm be at. And what happened was I was just on the outside. I was 75 yards, 50 yards out of the game because I was almost trying to cover a little too much. Not real. I was thinking as a human, if that makes sense, that instead of a predator, I was thinking like a human because I watched the mature bucks that I did see this year. I'm thinking, you dumbass. Like, you're trying to cover too much. You're out of the cover. You're out of that edge. And them mature bucks, everyone I've seen, were either came out of that thickness or just inside of it. Or, they said they were just a higher stem count in general in that area, that they felt secure getting from point A to point B. That closest distance between them thick areas, that's where he was going. Like, I sat back and seen them couple bucks I did, he's cruising or chasing. It's like, I just was trying to cover too much. And you can't be in areas for mature bucks. Nathan Killen says this: it's too open or too flat. That'll kill you. Chasing mature bucks. Can you kill them in open timber? Absolutely. But if you continue to hunt open areas and flat areas, your success rate is going to drop on mature bucks. You can get away with either or of those sometimes. You can maybe it's a real steep area, it's kind of open, you can kill them, or it's real thick and flat, you can kill them. Preferably, you get in some nasty terrain, some thick cover, they're going to be in there. And that's where you guys got to understand. Like I said, if you can see 150 yards all the time, it's fairly easy to get to. Not saying you don't kill, but you're probably not going to be real consistent.
Yeah, that's one thing that I've been really trying to put into my postseason scouting, even in-season scouting, is find the thickest cover. Like before, I would just be on the edge of it, kind of like what you just said. I can see the thick part, and I just stay on the outskirts because I'm automatically in my mind, it's they're going to cruise down the side of that, the outside. It's I think with the progression of hunters and us wanting to be in that mindset of doing that more, people getting smarter and doing that, deer will also adapt to that and be more in the thick cover, like the thick laurel, thick briars, all that kind of stuff. So they're adapting to us as much as we're adapting to how they used to move, put it that way.
Yeah, a lot of times we as hunters overthink it a little too much. We're looking at something that looks real pretty. You know what I mean? Pretty don't kill big bucks, in my opinion. The nasty does,
Yeah. But then it's also when you get in that thick cover, the laurel and stuff, it's you find good sign. It's how the hell do I get in here without busting it out?
Yeah, that's why I said I like to, like I said, I like a lot of my setups, I like to catch them in that spot coming in and out of those areas or in between multiple bedding areas. I love being in between multiple doe bedding areas in a great pinch and where everything's funneling down. You get a year like this, it just weren't moving. It just they weren't cruising. So that tactic next year, maybe it's not maybe the mass crop sucks or something like that, and them bucks are really gonna have to look. That's fantastic. A ditch crossing in between doe bedding areas, you kill all damn day. A year like this, where what I was actually doing, I was leaving deer sometimes too, because I wasn't seeing any mature bucks. I was pushing deep, maybe I'm going to go 2 miles, 2.5. It was dead. I need to get up over those oaks were on that ridge where the deer were. I was leaving stuff because I'm thinking, I'm pushing back so far, and here the deer weren't. The mature bucks was crazy. Once I pulled cameras, they weren't that far off a lot of access areas. So it was crazy. But that's where the does were, that's where the oaks were, and that's where the big bucks were. And all I was doing was walking past them almost every damn day, which was crazy.
That sucks. When you pull a camera, it's I was in the woods the same day as this buck. The one buck I sent you, the one in Velvet, I was in the woods literally on the other mountain across from him at the same time, same day, same elevation too, as him, just on the other side of the mountain. I was daylight, and I was oh, this is just, I hate trail cameras right now.
No more cells for this guy. I'm done with cell cameras. No more cell cams. No, cells are done. Just gonna run my SDs from inventory in the summer. I just want to know they're there. I'll hunt them down, and then I'll let them, of course, soak through the fall. I'm gonna check them one time in the summer. They're in there. let it soak, get that historical data, you know what I mean, for an area I'm not getting to or something. And that's it, man. No more sales. I'm done with them. They just, I think first off, mature bucks, I don't know why. My SD cams and my cell are two different things when I pull cards. I get way more mature bucks on my SD. There's something to that. And I don't care. I told myself they're not going to influence me. Well, guess what? We all wake up at 2:00 in the morning. And then you start thinking like, well, I was going to go here today. Man, that buck's in, there's deer in that area. Like, and then you make the wrong decision constantly. Yes, you get lucky with them. You kill deer off them. I know guys that have them. But at the end of the day, I think they hurt you more. I just do. Yeah. That's why I'm getting rid of them. I'm not running any more cells.
Yeah, I fully agree. Like I have 4 of them. All of them have been cancel the subscription. It's like,
yeah,
you can still run them as like SD cams. And put them out there.
Yeah.
So I'm probably still going to do that. I'm not just going to just throw them away or sell them, but like I'll still probably run them as regular SD cams.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I completely agree with you. Like there is definitely something there with cell cams and deer seeing it, and then also SD cams and no deer seeing it. Like I've had, the Tasco, the bear took down, but then also there was going to be a big buck on camera, but he saw it like right away. Like it was on a big tree too. So like, it wasn't like it was standing out, but it might've had something to do with the batteries or the smell of it. I don't know, but
the radio waves from the antenna, they're getting that.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. I don't know what it is, man, but like I said, we're going to, unfortunately, you guys know when you get me on here, we're going to get down some rabbit holes. We're supposed to be talking, but I'm getting to the point, man. I've been blessed to kill a lot of whitetails, and I'm going backwards, man. Like I'm starting trad. I'm starting traditional bow hunting.
Yep.
For the simple fact to where I told you I was out of the game this year. Well, I'm not going to go full time in trad yet. I'm not ready for that yet. But it's like if I start picking that trad bow up, I had to think different as a hunter. I had to think different as a predator. If I can only shoot 20 yards, 15, 20 yards, I can't shoot 40 no more. Mm-hmm. So that's going to make me rethink my setups to where, okay, I'm just out of range. Now I've got to think that I got to be in that thick cover. I got to have that trail at 12 yards or 8 yards. So just stuff like that, man. I'm telling you, I just going backwards more some stuff instead of utilizing trail cameras. It's, running traps, digging up the dirt around creek crossing, stuff like that. And, cutting a big set of tracks. Like now in the wintertime, I'm, snowed a couple weeks ago. I'm cutting a big set of tracks and backtracking that, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like that's the stuff I'm starting to get into and more. And I think at the end of the day, we've gotten away from the woodsmanship stuff or too much technology. I think we all took a step back. We'd be 10 times better hunters. We just go backwards. 100%. I think we'd be 10 times better hunters at this.
Well, even this year for like rifle season, I only had a doe tag for up north. And I was like, you know what? We got snow.
Yeah.
I would love to track a deer. I think every Pennsylvania rifle hunter, that's like a bucket list thing to be able to track a deer down and then kill it. That'd be perfect. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to track a deer. I'm going to go up top. There was fresh snow from the night before. I find tracks. I'm just walking. Yeah. And I was able to follow tracks for, it was probably about 200 yards. It looked like a doe with its fawn. Those 2 sets of tracks. One was definitely smaller. I was like, I'm following it. And I did about 200 yards before it decided to go off the side of the mountain. I was like, yeah, I'm not going down there. And then I set up on a log, and sure enough, maybe about 75 to 100 yards down the mountain coming out of Laurel was Mama Doe.
Yeah.
Like she was. And I never got a chance. She saw me first. I was like, I just did that.
Cool though.
Yeah, that was awesome. I was like, there was no trail cam. I don't have a trail camera up there. No historical data on deer. It just, I went out, found tracks, followed them, and had success in the terms of finding that deer.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's what I did. Like I said, a couple of weeks ago, I cut tracks, big set of tracks. I had a camera in this one location. I was getting multiple toward bucks in this area, and I didn't hunt the area. And I just backtracked that big set of tracks, and I could tell it was a buck, and I could see where he was feeding. His rack was hitting some snow and stuff like that. But I've been doing this a long time. Okay, scouting. I've put thousands of miles in over years. Let me tell you, those couple hours I followed that track, whatever hour, 2 hours, I can't tell you how much I learned. Like I followed that track, and I have a spot back here. Like if I sat here during the rut this year, I probably would have killed my buck in the rut, not in gun season. You know, it was like, it's so eye-opening. A thing like you see once you start backtracking or following those tracks. Like I said, these podcasts are great, but the best teacher's out in the woods, man. Just cut them tracks and follow him. He's going to tell you where. And mature buck's going to do mature buck things. Deer are going to do deer things. Yes, mature buck's a little different. Cut those tracks. I don't care if it's even doe tracks, like you said. How much did you learn just cutting those doe tracks? Like, you're going to realize, see what deer do, how they use the diversity of habitat, how they work the edges, the bedding areas, what they prefer to food sources. Man, you're going to learn. You're going to learn so much just doing that for an afternoon or morning. My God, the knowledge you'll learn from that.
Yeah, and because obviously, like when I found tracks during hunting season, I want to follow to where they're going. You now for your postseason, when you said you got the tracks, you backtrack. Is that what you usually do?
I chose to backtrack. Like, you could take it either way. I ended up picking up another set of tracks and started following when he was going somewhere. The reason I did this, he was coming out of bedding, an area I'd want to hunt. I would think if I'm going to kill something, it's going to be in it, because he was kind of transitioned to more of an open cut. So I wanted to backtrack him into where I think he could be killed, where I think he'd feel secure in daylight. That's why I backtracked that buck, to see what he was doing, to where I would feel mature buck in general would do, like, say, next season. Because I have a tree picked out to right now, or 2 spots in there now, where next year now, I think I'll be in a ball game in this general location.
Okay. Yeah, I think back to what you're saying about, like, you know, the cameras kind of influence everyone. It's very true, because I like, everyone's so focused. Once again, another rabbit hole, but everyone's so focused on, like, the size of, like, the score of the buck and all that kind of stuff. Like, you know, I feel like if you track one down, if you put the effort into tracking one down, that's going to be more than anything than the size of the rack. Like, it could be a legal buck, and it's like, oh my gosh, like, it could be, like you said in Maryland, like a small 6-point. Yeah, and like, you're tracking him down, like, you're actually tracking him down. You get to within 20 yards of that buck or 40 yards of that buck, and you're able to put an arrow through him by just tracking him down. It's like, oh my gosh, like, that's almost like Tim Palmer, like ground hunting. It's like, man, that's
actually, Tim, he's a good dude. You know, I've talked to him all the time on social media, and he's one of the people that influenced me. When I started doing this, I'm 47. I've been doing this a long time, 30 some years. Well, when I started bow hunting. I started hunting when I was 14. I started bow hunting when I was 16. Well, when I started, it was on the ground. I killed my first buck off the ground, and I killed doe off the ground. Like, and to be honest, I told my wife this year a couple times, like I said, I'll grind it out in the rut. And to be honest with you, this year I wasn't having fun in the rut. Like, I was kind of like, it was like work. You know what I mean? Like I love rut hunting. I love grinding it, but it was almost like a little too much this year, where I need something different. And you know what? When the weather conditions isn't great, maybe it's raining or it's windy, maybe I pick that trad bow up and I'm walking. I'm spot stalking it. Maybe instead of sitting that stand all day on a shitty weather day, maybe it's a little warm or something like that. Instead of sitting in that stand all day, and you know how it is, like, man, probably not going to see nothing, but we're going to sit here all day. You never know, because it's a rut. Well, instead of that situation, maybe that's where maybe I grab the bow, the compound or the traditional bow. Maybe I got the stand on my back. Maybe I just walking all day. Maybe get into a spot stock situation or something like that, or you catch one chasing a doe and you can get yourself in a situation to kill one off the ground, or you're scouting, you find that hot sign maybe in the rut. You know, that's something I'm going to change going into next year. Instead of being so focused on my postseason scouting and all that stuff, this is the kill tree. Maybe to get that little bit more excitement back into my hunts instead, you know what I mean? Because I've been doing it for so long. I've killed a lot of deer this way. I need something different. And that's why I think I'm starting to more towards the woodsmanship, the old school, the traditional bow, spot and stalk, track, you know, just for more excitement and get some more of this, the old school woodsmanship back, man. To be honest, that's what it is, you know, get that excitement of that stuff back.
Yeah. Do you think having all that success early season with, you know, your son going to Maryland, your buddy, do you think that helped you get through the rut? Because I know there was probably a very long rut for you.
Yeah, I would tell you yes and no. You know how it is. You got a tag punched, takes the pressure off. I've always, you know, I consider myself a killer, of course, you know, not to be an asshole, but you know what I mean? Just like I've been pretty successful, and it's usually full throttle for me no matter what. But once you get a few deer knocked down, my son killed a deer, my buddy killed a deer, maybe I wasn't on my A game. You know what I mean? Because I was being a little lazy, I guess, if that would make sense. Yeah, I was out there hunting all day, but I think I wasn't thinking. I was making the wrong calls those 4 weeks. If that, you know what I mean? Those couple weeks I was out there, I started maybe being a little lazy, taking an easier route, or I think that maybe hurt me a little bit too. Yes, it's great you have one down, but that killer instinct maybe not. It's not full throttle like it usually is.
When during the season, so let's say that's not going to happen. When do you normally feel that pressure of like, man, I really got to get, because you obviously you get the red tags, you get the management tags, all that kind of stuff. But like, so you have meat in the freezer, but like everyone wants a trophy on the wall. That's like one of the things we want as hunters.
Yeah, it's
like,
at the end of the day. I mean, I don't want one of those calls trophy hunters or whatever. I don't consider myself a trophy hunter. I consider myself a deer hunter. I shot 9 whitetails this year. I shot 2 bucks and 7 doe. People are like, what? Dude, I'm a deer hunter. If I have a tag, I'm going. I don't care if it's a bow. I don't care if it's a rifle. I don't give a shit. I'm going deer hunting. End of the day, I'm a deer hunter. Now, when it comes to the pressure, usually killing a deer in general is not a problem. I usually got some deer down. But when it gets to where you're looking for a certain age class, for certain caliber, that stress usually starts to kick in. That, like, I take a month off. Once you start getting in that back half, say November 10th, 11th, 12th, those last like 2 weeks, you start to feel it. First off, you're tired.
Yep.
Everybody's killing when you swear in the world but you. And that's usually when the pressure there will start to set in. Like I said, this year, you kill one early in another state. Does it take the pressure off? You're like, at least I got one down, But tip for me, once I start getting into double digits in November, you can start feeling it a little bit.
Yes. Ethan, did you feel that? Like when you got your Ohio buck, did you feel less pressure? I never asked you this, but like, did you feel less pressure?
I felt no pressure whatsoever.
No pressure.
I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm not at your guys' level when it comes to the whitetail, like, I don't want to say obsession, but the passion, if you will.
Yeah.
So for me to shoot that buck in Ohio, if I didn't shoot anything else deer wise for the rest of I was okay. Like I was like, I got a deer down. Yeah. I was happy as could be.
Yep.
I felt no pressure. So like the Pennsylvania, that's just cherry on top.
What the sad part is too. I'm competitive. We're all competitive. We're men. Yep. We're competitive. Yep. That's there. But at the end of the day, man, does the world end if you don't kill a deer? If you don't put one on a wall, does the world end? End of the day, I mean, trust me, I put more pressure on myself than anybody. But I've realized over the last couple of years, I've had a couple tough years the last couple of years. I've been pretty successful. And I got a couple of years just wasn't coming together. And then this year I had a pretty solid year. But that's just whitetail hunting, man. But as I said, you get on the East Coast here, Northeast, Southeast, it can be tough, just what we got to deal with sometimes. And we got to be okay with sometimes eating a tag, man. The world doesn't end. It just, as much as we love them, with the passion we have for whitetails, it's just, end of the day, it's just deer, man. The world don't end,
I try and tell myself that.
Yeah, I do too. And I'm talking right now because we had a great season. So come see me next year this time. And I don't get no tag punch, but a different story.
Yeah, this conversation might have went a little different.
So we kind of glazed over it. But I want to talk about your son's buck because, like, the fact he got his first buck this year with the bow, and you were there to witness it.
Yeah,
out of a hang on, you guys, did you hang it that day? Like, walk us through that day. Like, walk us through everything that happened.
Yeah, we the farm we hunt had corn on it this year, and to be honest, we thought like the year before we hunted this farm was soybean. Man, there was freaking deer everywhere on this farm, and my buddy runs some cameras on, a couple decent bucks on it and stuff. I don't run any cameras personally, just my buddy does. And this general area, I actually hunted it myself, and I passed up, I think it was like a 2-year-old, 3-year-old 8-point come by, and I was in my lone wolf at the time. Well, my buddy had some cameras in there, some deer showing up. Like, what's we call the ditch stand? I said, well, the wind was good, everything was good, but with the corn up, we thought it was going to be fantastic this year. Them some bitches were in that corn. It was just, we saw a fraction of deer we saw the year before for like standing corn. But anyway, I knew the spot, this ditch, they come out of a bedding area, come out through this ditch crossing up into the cornfield. And I told my son, we had pre-hung a set there. What I did is I took my .5 in with me, so I sat with him. And to be honest, it was an easy hunt. You walk down the field edge, you climb up a tree, only off the woods, maybe 10 yards. And it was just kind of funny because we're just sitting there and where I was expecting the deer to come from out of the bedding area. And I told my son, I said, man, that damn corn. I said, just pay attention to that corn edge. They love to walk that edge, And man, I just remember, I'll never forget, he's sitting to my right. I'm sitting there and I looked over and it's kind of an oak tree. It's got some limbs sticking out. And I caught some movement. I was like, and we were going to shoot buck or doe. He had doe tag too, just get his first archery deer or hopefully his first buck. Did I see the deer? I said, buddy, the deer's coming. And it walking down that edge, I'm like, probably going to get an opportunity here maybe. All of a sudden, it's like, it's a buck, So I think Dad was getting a little too excited. Because my son, he's funny. He's completely different from me. My son, he's pretty even kill, He don't he's not real emotional and stuff like that, But that deer, but I could see he's starting to shake. And we're playing. I'm trying to film it. I can't remember it all went through it. I have to go back and watch the filming. And I could tell where he's at. There was going to open. I just told him, I said, this is deer was only 7-8 yards. I said, whenever you get an opportunity to kill, and he pulls, I told him, I said, pull that bow back. Pulls the bow back, And I said, just wait. I said, when you get an opportunity to kill him, man, when that bow went off and I saw that arrow hit, he caught him back a little bit liver. That deer swung around, went down the bottom, stood there a little bit, I'm like, oh, please, Lord, fall over. Please, Lord, fall over. Please, Lord. Well, he didn't fall over. He ended up running down into his old strip mine area. I was like, man, I think he's done, buddy. I think he's done, And so we waited a couple minutes, got down. The area was covered in blood, and you can see some blood. And we ended up backing out. So let's go back to the truck. My dad was there. My buddy come out. Gave him maybe 45 minutes, an hour after dark. And we went down there. And it was funny because he ran up his steep strip mine. You can see the blood. And literally, I'm standing there. My son's standing. My buddy's there. And there's this steep strip mine there. And it went up, and no, sir, look, I'm literally standing on the buck. When he went up the ridge, he fell, and he went underneath a log. And I looked down, and holy shit! I said, I'm swearing, I'm dropping that bombs. I'm literally standing on this deer, his buck here. I see just how it fell underneath this blowdown. It leaves cover it up. So we're all standing right on top of this thing, and it was pretty awesome. But it was cool though. My son, like I say, he's not real emotional, but you can see the emotion, and I'll never forget going home, and he just looked at me. He's like, that was pretty cool, Dad. You just see, man, he was hooked. He was hooked, man. It's pretty wild. Hey, I'll tell you what, man, like I said, that's probably one of my greatest highlights all time of hunting in general. It was such a fun night with my dad, because my dad, he can't walk around. He's getting older. He's back in the truck. We yell. He's hooting and hollering too, because we found him. Just my best friend's there. My son. I mean, it was a perfect night. Just an absolute perfect night, man.
That's what hunting is all about.
Yes.
Like that. Yes. That moment right there where you have your dad's there, your son's there, your best friend's there. It's like you're standing over your son's first bow harvest with a compound bow. It's like, wow, this is like a movie. Like this is like
it was awesome.
What dreams are made of right now.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, that's what it's about, man. So we get tied up with the social media bullshit and stuff, and we tend to forget what it's supposed to be about.
Yeah,
the memories.
Forget about the first deer that we shot. We forget about the first buck we shot. It's like, but then you look back at you can look at that mountain. You can remember back to the exact moment of how you felt and how everything, all the emotions went over you and all this kind of stuff. Like you remember the moments where you didn't get one, but yet your friend who may not no longer be around got one. It's like, it's crazy that it's so much deeper than just a score on the wall or on the wall or just meat in the freezer. Even it's so much deeper than that.
I told my son the way home at night, I said, my dad's 73 years old, reality of life. He's not going to be here forever. I told my son that, I said, kid, you won't understand now because you're 15. 20 years from now, you're going to understand tonight. I said, you just remember tonight with our friend, myself, your dad, and your grandpaps there. I said, kid, when you're my age in your 40s, you will tell this story to your kids. I said, this is, you don't know what it means until you get a little older. Then you'll understand it.
Yeah, it's so surreal how emotional it is. Like my wife, like even when I shot my buck this year, she was like, you're not upset. I'm upset just seeing that buck. I'm like, I'm upset. I see that deer is dead. Like I'm not emotionless. Like I know how it feels, right? So there's a lot of emotion in hunting in general. Like we aren't just like
heartless serial killers.
Serial killers. Like It's so deep, man, and that's why I think we love it so much, because there's as men, and this is a very deep conversation. As men, we're always taught, like, don't show emotions, don't do all this kind of stuff, but like this is the one kind of situation where we feel like it's okay to show that emotion.
Yeah.
Right. It's so bizarre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
if you don't do it, it's hard to understand it. It really is I said the sunrises, the sunsets, the days out there in gun season, it's 0 degrees, it's a blizzard, it's a whiteout, man. That's living. Man, that's living, man. When you're out in them nasty elements, like you said, you killed your buck in the rain, you're out in the elements. That just adds to it, man. It just adds to it.
Yeah. And then like the mornings where, like, even before the sun sets, how quiet is not a bug, not a bird, and you look up and there's no light pollution. You just see all these stars.
Oh.
It's like, man, this is why we do it.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So it's all awesome.
Yep. And then you gotta go home and go to work, and it just ruins it all. Just brings you back. Oh man, I tell you, like, having these all, because I gotta get a good amount of time. Like, if I wanted to, with the time I had, I could pull a Ryan Glitsky and take off the entire rut. I could do it with the amount of vacation that I'm given.
Definitely.
But 90% of my time that I take off is during hunting season.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm off, like I took off a whole week for the rut camp, and I'm off that whole week, and I'm up there, and I was like, oh, this is like great. This is a whole complete mental reset. I'm out in the woods. I'm with, my dad. I'm with, with Cody, with Drew, like I'm surrounded by friends and family. It's like, and then I got to go back to work. It's like, God, like this kind of sucks. Like,
I take off so much time during the rut and stuff. And I actually went back a little early because I started in a new position at work, so I had to move some days around. So I had like 3 weeks off instead of 4, but I moved that week in the gun season. So between end of October till now, like, I think I've worked maybe 1 full week at work. And now we're in the holiday season as we're recording here.
Yeah.
And like, I'm starting reality. it's New Year's here. I'm going to be off a couple days. And it's like, there ain't nothing. It is the dark of winter. And like, shit. Like overtime, working weekends, like, son of a bitch. We're going to do this all over again, It's
like that void in your life from like January to beginning of March almost. So it's just like, what am I doing?
I mean, I love postseason scouting. I mean, I'll be out every Saturday scout, but that's it, man. It's like shit, no vacation, no holidays, no nothing.
Do you think your son is going to take the same path as you with the scouting that hard and stuff like that? Do you think he will do that?
He actually, this year, he's talked to me a few times. He's like, Dad, he says, I want to go scout with you. He's a big fisherman. He loves to fly fish. He's actually drugged me on the fly fishing side. I've been getting into fly fishing a lot right now. But when it comes to the scouting stuff, he's asked me, and actually probably here next week or two, I told him once the holidays die down, we have late season muzzleloader archery in. I said, once those seasons are done, I said, he's going to start coming out with me. A couple of you guys will see him. He'll be on some of my Instagram stories. I'll either make him film. I'll make him cameraman, I told him. A little bit of some stuff. But he wants to start learning a little bit of the woodsmanship and stuff, and I'm going to start dragging him out there in the mountains and start building that foundation for him.
That's awesome. That's real cool. I love that. So now your PA buck. So you went through all rut. You had the couple encounters. You saw a couple mature buck. You had other bucks come by, but then you didn't shoot anything come the rut. Now we get into rifle season. Let's walk us through that whole thing.
Well, in the back of my back pocket, I was holding a wild card.
Okay.
I told you I hunt a private farm. And now it's a fair amount of deer. Couple nice bucks on there. You'll get your 100 inchers to 140. Depends. We probably are 2 biggest bucks on there. I'd say my buddy on camera, probably the 30s area. But there was a couple 120, some other deer. Like I said, I don't run any cameras down there. But how the story of this played out was there's most of the farm, I don't know what the acres of farm is, but there's 2 particular areas of timber there, kind of the bedding areas. They're not very big. But we kind of don't go into those areas. And as the gun season, when I knew I was going to be gun hunting, I had some doe tags for this area and I had a buck tag course. And I was like, well, I'm going to put a preset in each one of those bedding areas. That was my goal. And that's how I started off. And let me backtrack here a little bit. When I said both my bucks I killed this year, there was 0 camera data. what was weird about this, where I ended up killing my buck on this ridge, we don't hunt it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What ended up happening one night during bow season, I was sitting in a ground blind in October, like I said, it was the second week of October there with my dad. And my dad's old. Well, he can't hold his bladder very well. And he's sitting in the stand. We're hunting this food plot. My dad used a crossbow. He's sitting there. I wasn't hunting. I was just playing God, you know. And he's getting that prime time. He says, I got to piss. I said, you're going to have to freaking hold it. I said, Dad, and he's 73 years old. He's going to piss himself, you know. And he's like, listen, boy, we got two choices here. I'm going to piss right here, or I got to get out of this blind. I said, fine, Dad, fine. And it was that gray light where, fine, last 10 minutes. Well, he gets out, take a piss. I get out, and there's a gas line that runs alongside this ridge system. Mm-hmm. Well, as I step out, I can see this gas line, and I got my binos, and I can see a bunch of spots, deer. So I grabbed, I see that one is a mule. I mean, big for him. Like, that has to be a mature buck. So I grabbed the binos, like, man, I can't tell the rack. I can kind of see, see it a little bit. We start sparring with another decent buck. I can see, like, look like a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old going at it, give or take, you know. Well, I told my buddy still had a tag. Well, I get out that night, and I told my buddy, I said, dude, up on that power line, dude, there's a pretty good buck up there. Well, he goes in the next night. He has an encounter. He passes up a buck, sees this big one. He's like, wolf, you know. So he makes a stand adjustment, goes up there, sees the big one again, has another buck come out. He thought it was the big one, ended up just being a respectable buck. He ended up, but it was cool though. No cameras on that side, no nothing. My dad just had to take a piss, got me out of the blind. So it was just an observation what it ended up being, ended up putting my buddy in this game. Well, we stayed away from that ridge. And as I was getting my balls kicked in a rut, my buddy's like, dude, you need to go to the farm, hunt that ridge, kill one of the bigger bucks. I said, no, if I kill a buck with a bow, it's going to be in the mountains. I was just stubborn. I'm like, no, I am not leaving the mountains. But as gun season rolled in, I was like, that ridge may produce, it's a bedding area. You know what I mean? So anyway, first day of rifle comes in, I hunt the first bedding area. And if you remember, it was windy and cold that day. Okay. I didn't see shit till, I think it was 1 o'clock. I had 3 doe come in, and 2 of them didn't walk out of there. I dropped 2 of them, 2 big doe I dropped. So I was like, all right, you got 2 doe down. Next day, I was like, I love the mountains. I love the mountains. It's hard to keep me out there. So it was Sunday. I'm going to the mountains. So I go up the mountains. It was crazy. I had a little 6-point I could have killed. Didn't want him. He's a little small side for me. Mm-hmm. Ended up seeing a doe. It's kind of slow. I was like, yeah. Something kept telling me to go to that ridge on that farm. Mm-hmm. I knew those bucks just loved to be in there. And when my buddy killed that buck that day with the bow, we actually had to go the next morning to find him. And that ridge was just tore up with beds and everything. Man, just awesome. So this was all playing in the back of my head too. And how to get into that spot, I was like, man, I get in there early. Try to beat a buck back to bed was my goal in that bedding area. So that's basically what I did. I got in there early, got set up. And what was crazy is I was walking in, there's a set of eyeballs as I get in there. And they are like football size across the head. And I'm thinking, man, I just knew it was one of them big bucks. You just knew. Yeah. That son of a bitch watched me get right in that stand. And I could hear him, there's the old strip mine job. And I could just hear him go down that strip mine and walk out of my life. I just like, oh, shit. You know what I mean? I was like, son of a bitch, go figure, you know? Yeah. But man, I'm telling you what, it just started getting gray light. And I looked down at some crab apples, maybe 60, 70 yards away. And it wasn't very far. And I seen that big, dark, figure. And I'm thinking, that has to be a mature buck. Has to be a good buck. And I saw him put his head up, and I saw a rack out past the ears, and I was like, that's a good buck. Yeah. I grabbed that gun, man, and I just put it right on him, squeezed one off, and he actually ran towards me, and I'm thinking, did I miss? I ended up cracking another shell. I think I missed him on that one, and he acted like he was hit, I'm thinking, yeah. And you know how it is. You're just like dumbfounded at the moment. Like, well, I shoot 7mm. Like, why didn't you drop? You know what I mean? Usually do. So anyway, I knew I could tell he was hit, So anyway, I get down. It's an old strip mine job, and I get down there and I see a little bit of blood, and I can smell him, just that rut smell, and I can see where he went down that strip mine. I get down in there, and I get down to that strip mine, and it is sheer wall on both sides. I'm like, man, of all the freaking places to run. But I told you, I didn't know exactly where I hit him at first, So I looked away, I looked, and all of a sudden I caught some movement. Here he's up there laying, and I seen his head pick up, and I put another one down through him. I cracked another shell in it strip mine. And it's just how I am. He was down. He wasn't going anywhere, but I put another one up through him. I got up on that strip mine. I got probably within maybe, 20 feet, 15, 20 feet, and I put another one through his chest. He was still, I'll put him in 2 or 3 of them until I know they're done. We've all heard the stories of them get up and run. And the other thing is the humane thing to do. I just wanted to make sure they're done. But that first shot was good. I actually took right through the vitals on the first shot. He didn't act like he was hit with the 7mm, which was crazy.
Yeah.
The second shot, I think I completely missed because I couldn't find the other than the other 2 shells. I ended up putting 3 in him and ended up to finish him off. But it was just crazy, man. Just it went from struggling to rut, killed him a couple of does first day of rifle, a little slow in the mountains, and then boom, had a good buck down on the ground for him. It just, but that was kind of like I told you, that wild card. I just had a feeling if I could get into one of those bedding areas in the rifle season, surrounding pressure would probably push those bucks into there, or they just didn't have the pressure on by that second, third day of rifle, where they were still coming back to bed ready at daybreak, possibly, depending on the pressure. That's what he did. He had no clue. He wasn't pressured, none. He was just coming back into bed. Unfortunately for him, I was carrying a 7mm. You know what I mean? That's, it was a little game changer in a bedding area, the rifle, So it ended up working out awesome,
Such a cool, that's everything that I always like this year. Trusting your gut is big. That's when I came up this year is like, you gotta trust your gut. Like after my mishap with that buck and trust my gut the rest of the way, it was like, I just had to trust my gut. Like that's the biggest thing is like trust your gut.
That's a big thing. Yeah, you just got to go with that. So that's what I told you. I remember when I was at the mountains on that Sunday, I got up in this spot and it looked good, and I know I had a couple good bucks in the area. And I'm telling you, when that sun cracked that morning, I looked around with some snow on the ground up there and it was just beautiful. I'm like, man, I'm going to sit here for the next couple of days. I'm going to hunt this next couple of days. But as the morning went on, it was kind of slow. Then I just like, I need to go back to that farm. And my buddy too was on me. He's like, dude, you gotta hunt that ridge. You know what I mean? And finally went up there. And like I said, does it work out textbook like Maryland or like that? Not usually. But in those 2 situations, there was no trail cameras. It was just pretty much observation or scouting that killed both those deer.
Yeah. That's perfect example of what hunting not necessarily should be, but like what we should strive to do is like use our woodsmanship, trust our guts, trust our instincts, because we all have that instinct inside of us because our ancestors used to hunt for a living.
You got to read the sign.
Yeah.
The observation, the sign. Like I said, that spot where I killed my rifle buck, I was on that ridge when my buddy shot that buck. He shot it the evening, went in the next day to find it. As we tracked that buck in the daylight, like there was beds everywhere, there was sign, there were scrapes, like it was a bedding area, Just that little bit of observation, seeing it with my dad to take a piss, my buddy killing that deer, tracking that deer, like that all played into putting me there on the 3rd day of gun season, killing that buck. No trail cameras, nothing. It was like I said, that was just paying attention to your surroundings, paying attention to what the woods is trying to tell you.
Yeah, I mean, I did the exact same thing pretty much with my buck. The Saturday before, I was walking the upper 3rd ridge, and I jumped a few, and I didn't know what they were, and then I got down to like where they were, and it was thick laurel, heavy trail, rubs, scrapes everywhere, fleeting sign everywhere, and then on that rainy Wednesday, I believe it was. I went in. I was going to cut up below that and get the bench below that, and they were right on that bench feeding. So like with the thermals dropping all day, they were going to be on the lower bench instead of being up high. So that's I used my woodsmanship to do that, because it was like, got to get where they are. Yeah. But that was so. On a scale of 1 to 10, what would you rate your season for that? Like with the ups and downs, all that kind of stuff.
I mean, be honest with you, with my son killing his first buck and bow, I mean, that puts it at a 10 in general, just for that.
Yep.
For me personally, like if you would just take that away and just me and my season, I killed nine whitetails this year. I killed 2 bucks and 7 doe. I can't, really complain. You know what I mean? End of the day, that's an 8 or 9. You know what I mean? I got, and this is not about bucks on the wall, but I got 2 sitting at taxidermist. I got deer in the freezer. I filled my dad's freezer. I paid for butchering for some of my neighbors. Got deer for them. People are like, why do you shoot 9 deer? Because I like to. I got tags. It's legal. I like to kill deer. And I donate. I give deer to people, stuff like that. I just what I enjoy doing. This year was just an awesome year. You're fortunate enough to get a couple of taxidermists, fill your freezers up. What more can you ask for? Really, what more can you ask for? Like I said, The only downfall was I'm a rut hunter.
Yeah.
I get on these podcasts and I get my nuts kicked in for what I'm supposed to be good at, So, you take a couple points off, I guess, but that's how you learn too, though. That's how you become a better hunter.
That's like a reality, though. Like you're not always going to be. If I would think something was wrong if someone went out there, or if you, for example, if you went out there and every single rut you would put a 150-inch, 130-inch buck down every single time. It's like, okay, something's up here, right? But like the reality is like you're not always going to have a successful season in like the time frame that you feel like you're the best at, right? Like there's going to be curveballs, there's going to be all this kind of stuff, and it happens.
You have to, like I said, and this is not to come off for us guys. We're better than anybody like that. We hunt different areas compared to a lot of people like out west and some Midwest. People don't understand when you get into pressure states of New York and Pennsylvania, Maryland, up in the Northeast, you get down into the Carolinas and stuff. It's a different ball game because of the pressure in the lower density of mature bucks. It is a different game. A lot of things are against us, and that's not an excuse. It doesn't make us better guys or worse guys. Or it's just a reality of the situation for us to where we are going to have a roller coaster with whitetails more often than not, either through our whole season or part of our season or whatever. It's just what's going to happen. That's me personally. Even after a tough rut, yes, it's frustrating. Yes, when you have a section like, but you have to realize it's just reality of what we sign up for too. It is.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I loved hearing about your whole season. Remember, everyone, to keep hunting,
keep fishing,
enjoy the freaking process. See ya.